Joining me is Sean Spicer, the first White House spokesman of President Donald Trump. Sean Spicer, thank you so much for your time. Look, this pressure on Joe Biden is now getting immense. Do you think he really will be forced to step aside?
Look, Andrew, I think this is a critical week. The House and the Senate are back in Washington. Why does that matter? Well, because reporters, instead of trying to track them down, can actually just walk up to them, put a microphone in their face, and get an answer. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, you've got this NATO conference in Washington, D.C. Same scenario. Now you have foreign leaders and their top aides similarly being asked questions. And then third, as they're referring to it, I cannot believe this, but if the White House is calling it a big boy press conference on Thursday. All three of those things present opportunities for Biden to have some kind of incident or issue arise. High risk, low reward. Three major issues happening this week alone. So to answer your question, I think if he gets through Thursday without a major stumble, they can probably limp into the convention. And he has been defiant. We've seen it here. Jill Biden, his wife, is doubling down. I think if he doesn't screw up the rest of the week, but if he has one more high-profile member of Congress, particularly somebody who, a black Democrat, that's where he's really held the base together. But if he starts losing support from a key coalition, black elected officials, that's going to be a problem. NATO leaders leaking out that he didn't seem alert in meetings or forgetful. And then obviously this big press conference on Thursday. All three of those are opportunities for him to really flush everything down the drain and for the Democratic Party to say, we tried, but we just can't be with you.
In the end, though, he's really got to agree to step down. And the only way he could do it without a major have a handover to someone else without a major party brawl would be to go to the Vice President, Kamala Harris. How would a switch to that work, do you think? How would Donald Trump view that?
Well, first, I just want to say I appreciate your level-headedness on the reality of the situation. So many folks in the U.S. don't appreciate what you just said. And I think that the audience there in Australia should understand that you're nailing this right on the head, that this is his to give up. That's what they have to understand first and foremost. There's no pushing him aside. He is the recipient of the requisite number of delegates to be the nominee of the Democratic Party. So first and foremost, he would have to agree by his own volition to step aside. And there's no signs yet that that's going to happen. That's number one. Number two is you're absolutely right. Look, if it's not going to be him, it's going to be Harris for a variety of reasons, many of them legal in terms of the campaign apparatus and logistical infrastructure that is existing. It can only be transferred to her as somebody who is on the ticket with him. Now, could the delegates potentially do something different at the convention? Yeah, I actually see a scenario where he gets through the convention. And then if something were to happen, it would be after that point in time when it's all locked in. I think Republicans know exactly what the playbook is right now. The American people know who Joe Biden is. They know where blame needs to be put squarely in terms of the results of the policies. I mean, I don't know how many people in Australia follow U.S. baseball, but I know the batter, right? I know that he's not good behind the plate right now. I don't want to put another batter in. I don't know. Maybe Kamala Harris attracts more women voters. Maybe she gets the African-American community here in America fired up. I don't know, but I just don't like variables that I have to guess about. And we know who Joe Biden is. We know the campaign to run against him, and the American people know. Any new variation of that worries me, admittedly. And that being said, I get how unpopular she is. But it's just a change in the dynamic that I don't think we need to be encouraging. We know we can beat Joe Biden. We know that he'll probably lose the House and the Senate along with the presidency. So why risk it? Why try to put in anybody new, regardless of where they may sit right now in the polls?
I think a lot of voters give a newbie a bit of leeway. They want to have a look at them. They're not instantly negative to them. So I do think she'd be an unknown candidate. I mean, it depends on her ability to step up, of course, but we shall see if that all happens. Sean, the one big thing that makes me worry about a Trump win is that he seems too soft on Russian dictator Vladimir Putin and his invasion of Ukraine, which is just dreadful. I mean, now we're seeing horrible footage of the latest Russian terror attacks on Ukrainian cities, including this missile attack on a children's hospital of all things in Kiev. What do you say to those of us who say, look, overall, we prefer Trump to Biden, except for this very, very big question, which of course affects the world?
So, when President Biden, prior to the debate, was asked about his age, he would say, watch me. And I think that the same thing could be said of President Trump when it comes to foreign policy. Watch him. Look at his record. For the first time in several U.S. administrations of both parties, Putin didn't invade or annex any land during the 4 years of Trump. He was worried about him. He couldn't predict Trump. He was, I think, frankly, a little scared of Trump. And so my point is, look at Trump's record, what he did in 4 years. Putin fears Trump. At least he finds him unpredictable at the very least. And so I think that Trump would cut a deal with Putin. I think Putin recognizes that Trump would want to show strength in the face of any further aggression by Putin. So I would just tell anybody that's worried about foreign policy, look at the 4 years of Trump and the security and the safety that permeated during those 4 years. And I think you'll get more of the same.
Well, I hope so. The only thing is, cutting a deal with Putin, what would that look like for Ukraine? Sean Spicer, thank you so much indeed for your time.
You bet, Andrew.